everyone, and welcome to a rather delayed guide to the 1.9 patch on the Contention server. I was really hoping to get this video out before the patch or right when the patch got released. Unfortunately, my PC somewhat caught fire, so things have been a bit delayed. But back now, PC's working again, and all is set. So let's jump in to see the highlights of what this really big patch is. Today we're going to be focusing on the new sector system, what that means with forward fighter spawns, and also looking at the new outpost system. So let's dive in. Okay, so here we are in the server, and this is our new sector system. So the map has been divided up into these lovely little sectors. And importantly, all the information that we need to know about a certain sector is shown up here in the top left corner in these little grey boxes. So the question is, how do these sectors work? Well, the main point of each sector is it is based around a fighter spawn. These little things here with FS written on them. These are where you can spawn your fancy fighters. So for instance here, let's have a look at Damascus. This is a non-fighter spawn in a red-held sector. What I get here is a list of aircraft. I'm on the 80s server, and we can see I don't have all of the 80s planes out here. I can take a Jeff as my most advanced thing, but all the fancy things are missing. If I click on the fighter spawn, however, then look here, I can take my pick of absolutely anything. I can go take an Su-27 out of there. Now this is consistent across all sectors. You can only take off your advanced fighters from these fighter spawn locations. Everything else is essentially like the old forward spawns used to be. So even right back here at marker, I can't take off an Su-27. However, at King Hussein, I can. Same thing will be applying to blue, so the two places that they will be able to be spawning their forward fighters is from Aleppo and from Hamar. And do note, we do still have the reserve base that is always available, the protected airfield, and this can always still spawn fighters, so no matter what, you will be able to spawn something. So the next question is, well, how do I go about taking territory? Well, effectively it's exactly the same as it used to be. You can grab these sectors by slowly grabbing the airfields inside them. That will slowly advance your control of the sector. However, the real key thing to get the sector to flip to your side is to take that fighter spawn airfield. You take this exactly as you used to, erase the units there, destroy its HQ, land your own unit there, boom, you've got the forward fighter spawn, and then the sector will flip colours. The outer box will change colour, and that is now yours. However, you can't necessarily use that forward fighter spawn. If Red here did some kind of beeline attack, grabbed Hamar and only Hamar, they wouldn't be able to spawn fighters there. What we need is to have at least 50% control and that central forward fighter spawn. Now we can see over here in Sector 2, Blue has complete control. They've got the fighter spawn, they've got absolutely every capturable objective, all strongholds, all FARPs, all airfields. They've got 100% control. That forward spawn works perfectly. For Red here in Sector 3, they don't have this little FARP Romeo 18 over here, meaning that Blue have 5% control because they've got 1 out of the 19 capturable objectives here. And that is still fine as long as your sector control is above 50%, that central fighter spawn works fine. If your control is below 50%, even if you have that central fighter spawn, it will be inactive. It will get a little white label instead of the coloured label, and you won't be able to spawn those advanced fighters there anymore. Now, usefully, this gives us two different ways that we could stop blue from taking off from Hamar here. Could absolutely do that the old way by taking Hamar itself, but we can expect blue to be doing their best to defend this. So another way would be to grab 50% control, or at least rob blue of 50% control. If we start neutralising farps and airfields, even if we don't necessarily capture them, blue's control will steadily drop. As soon as it drops below half, that little fighter spawn will turn white. All of a sudden, it will act just like a normal rear airfield, and blue will have to be shipping their planes all the way over from Aleppo. So that gives us a couple of different options of what we can do. Grabbing control in a sector does certainly hurt your opponent, but the ultimate objective is still that central fighter spawn. Now, the other major change that has happened is what used to be capture points have been replaced with these outposts, OPs, that are dotted around the map. What these are is essentially little strong points. So we go over to the Game Master view here, and I can see that this particular outpost has a mix of units defending it. So we've got some anti-air, we've got an SA-13 and an SA-9 giving some nice air-to-air damage. We've got a couple of ZILs there backing them up. And then we've got some harder things here. We've got a T-80, a T-84 to give some more defense against any ground units that are coming in. This essentially gives little strong positions that we can help to beef up our defense. These are not mandatory objectives. You can just leave enemy outposts and bypass them, but that is going to be leaving enemy units sitting around, and particularly these anti-air units are going to give people nasty surprises. Not all outposts are the same, each one is a little bit different. So over here we don't have any IR SAMs, instead we've got a ZU-23 and a T-90 there. Now, the really nice thing about these outposts is they don't cost your team a single thing. No credits, no resources, they are just there and you can just call them in. If you have 100% sector control, the sector will handle that on its own. So over here, blue with its 100% sector control, if red was to take out one of the outposts, blue would automatically spawn a supply aircraft which would take off from their rear protected airfield, fly its way down, and drop off a new outpost to reinforce that. Only one can be coming in at a time, so it is still worth taking these out. You are still going to be hurting the enemy, but you will get that steady flow of new supplies. Red, however, here do not have 100%, so if blue were to take out one of our outposts, we would have to manually call in a new one. So if we need to build an outpost, what we need to have is above 50% control of the sector and hold on to that central fighter spawn, in which case we can manually request a new outpost is built. To do that, what we do is we go to our comms menu, go to F10 Other, F2 Zone Management, then we go to F4 Outpost Construction, and then we select our sector. So in this case, let's say that we wanted to increase Sector 3's defences. We'd go F3, Sector 3 Build Outpost. Now in this case, we already have the maximum number of outposts there. So the maximum number of outposts in a sector is 15. If there had been space, then when I went through that, it would just manually spawn a new aircraft which would fly its way over and set up a new outpost inside the sector, helping you beef it up, keep it strong. Same rules apply, you can only have one incoming at a time. Another little note is to manually put down these OPs, you do need to make sure there are no OPs or factories that the enemy still have in a given sector. So here blue should be able to put one down. We've got less than 15. But if I go through the system, zone management, outpost construction, put it in sector 3, I get a little alert there's still an enemy outpost or factory. You can see that on the map, red is still holding on to this factory here, so if we want to put down more outposts and actually control this, we would need to take that factory back. Now, when it comes to these units that are spawned by the OPs, you are allowed to move them around within the circle, either via taking control through combined arms or using tactical commander pathing, but you are not allowed to move them outside of the circle. And then do bear in mind the normal restrictions. Don't move them into forests and leave them there. Don't hide them next to a building or anything like that. So to sum up then, FARPs and most airfields work exactly the same way as they used to, but we've got these new fighter spawns, one per sector, which allows you to spawn any of the available aircraft, including your up-to-date modern fighters. In order to make use of those, you both have to own that sector by controlling that fighter spawn, and you need to have at least 50% sector control. So if you have that central fighter spawn and more than half of the outpost FARPs and airfields in that sector, you can spawn what you want. Otherwise, your only forward air spawn will be the next one behind. Outposts are just generally units there to beef up your sector's defense a little bit. You can manually put these down if you have above 50% control, and they'll be automatically built for you if you have 100% control in a sector. Otherwise, there have been a bunch of other little upgrades that have come with this patch. A lot of them on the back end, improving things, making way for how things are going to work in the future. But all in all, what we've got is a much more understandable forward fighter spawn system now. So that is the quick list of what's on with the new patch. If you have any questions, please do leave them down below. And if you want me to go over any of these systems in more detail, again, please do let me know. Otherwise, for more details on all sorts of contention systems, there'll be a playlist coming up at the end of the video, so you can check that out. And otherwise, I hope to catch you in the future. Till then, remember to be kind to yourselves and everyone else. Cheers.